What's up, guys? It's Pastor John. I'm just driving my truck through Charlottesville, picking up some stone for my driveway, but I figured I'd kill two birds with one stone, pun intended. And so this is our Lifegroup video for this week. And so this Sunday I talked from Philippians 4, and we kind of wrapped up our study in Philippians. And Philippians 4 ends with a bang. It's a really cool kind of final section here in the book of Philippians. And so Paul has like this three-tiered encouragement that he gives us, and I just want to hit each one of those really quickly and then give you some questions to kind of work through it. So he starts off Philippians 4. He says he's given us this tool to deal with our anxieties and our fears and our frustrations and our anger in life. He says, be anxious about nothing, but in every situation with prayer and petition through thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and your minds. Right? And so he's giving us a tool to deal with our pain, to deal with our anxiety, to deal with our fear and frustration. And he's saying, this is what you do. You take it and you give it to God, and you do it thankfully, and you say, I don't want to deal with this here. I'm going to give it to you, and you process through it in prayer and petition. And he says, in every situation. So that's a tool that he's given us. And then he goes on to the next section, that middle section. He says this. He says, whatever is true, and whatever is pure, and whatever is right, and whatever is noble, and whatever is lovely, and whatever is excellent and praiseworthy, think about these things. Right? It reminded me of a book I read, The Anatomy of the Soul, which is a great book if you're into psychology and kind of spiritual psychology. But he says this: Christians need to be mindful of what they're mindful of. They need to think about what they're thinking about. And so I think that's what Paul's talking about here. He's saying, look, you give away your fear and anxiety, but if you just end up going back and brooding over the same old stuff, it's all going to come back. So once you give it away, leave it with God, and then start focusing on the good things that God has provided for us in our lives. So deal with your fear and anxiety by giving them to God. Replace it with peace and thanksgiving. Focus on the gospel truths in this world, the good things that you have in your lives. And then the kind of equation, like 1 + 2 equals this 3, this third part. He says this: I've learned the secret of being content in all things, whether I have a lot or little, if it's a time of plenty or a time of want. He says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And really, he's talking about this strength issue, right? Where do you find your strength? And I think that's a question we need to ask ourselves. Like, where is it that we're finding our strength? And I think sometimes what I do is like, oh yeah, my strength is in Jesus, but I don't actually put into practice any of the tools that God has given us. And so I'm like, well, I want my strength to be in Jesus, but where am I really finding that strength? And so here's 3 questions I want you to you guys work through if you want. If not, you can just ignore me and do whatever you want. But here's 3 questions. The first one is this: what is your plan for dealing with anxiety and fear and frustration? Right? You're going to deal with it. If your plan is to not have it, that's a really crummy plan. So you're going to have fear and frustration and anxiety. So what is your plan of dealing with it? And how can you practically put into play in your lives that suggestion that Paul gives us, to be anxious about nothing, but in everything, through prayer and petition and thanksgiving, present your request to God. So that's the first thing. What is your plan to do with fear and anxiety? And how can you implement what Paul's given us, the tool that Paul's given us in Philippians 4? The second one is this: if you wrote down everything you thought about last week, would it line up with that list? Is it right and pure and excellent and praiseworthy? Like, is that what you would write down if you just thought about everything you thought about last week? And if you're anything like me, the answer is absolutely not. Like, I brood about stuff. I think about all the things that I wish were different. So what if you actually started taking some things off the list that you made and start replacing them with stuff that's noble and pure and true and right and excellent and praiseworthy? Like, what would that look like in your life, and how could you actually do more of that? So how can you be more mindful of what you're mindful of, and how can you implement the tools that Paul has given us? And the last one is this: you find your strength from something. Is it your abilities? Is it your money? Is it your job? Is it your family? We find our strength from something. But Paul is encouraging us not to throw those things out, but to the foundation. The one place to find strength that will never run out of strength to give is that foundation of Jesus Christ. to live our lives as Christ and to die as gain. And so how can we actually practically do that in our lives? How can we turn to God and allow Jesus Christ, his unlimited ability to provide strength? How can we do that in our lives? What does that look like? And how will that enable us to find contentment in all situations? So hopefully I gave you a couple things to think about. I'm going to get home without wrecking here. And so thanks for spending a few minutes with me. You guys look great, by the way, and I look forward to seeing you again in person this Sunday. God bless, and we'll see you.